Welcome to episode 6 of the Sports Geek podcast. In this episode, we'll talk to Rob Skillicciotti about marketing the Socceroos, and we'll go back into the archive to look at the last year's Stanley Cup run of the LA Kings with Dwayne Hankins.
Welcome to the Sports Geek podcast, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host whose professional sports career was tragically cut short at age 17 due to a lack of ability, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. My name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek. You can find me on Twitter at Sean Callanan. I'd like to say I'm back on my feet, but at least I can say the Achilles surgery was successful, but I will be couch-bound for a week or two. Thanks to Dr. Jeff Timms and the staff at Epworth Eastern for looking after me. Hopefully I can get back on schedule in releasing the podcast late in the week on a Friday from next week. I didn't want this podcast to be known as the one on painkillers. Also in today's show, we'll look at Facebook hashtags and also some of the stuff that we're doing with Twitter ads and seeing what actions and interaction you can get via those. But to start things off, we're going to chat with Rob Skillicciotti from FFA, who run the Socceroos. The Socceroos are currently trying to qualify for the Brazil World Cup. They won last week 4-0. They need to win this Tuesday to secure their place. Otherwise, they go into a multiple playoff system. So here's our discussion with Francis Leach on ABC Grandstand.
Grandstand Breakfast on Grandstand Digital. It's not so all right for our man Sean Callanan, Sports Geek HQ, because he's in here with serious injury. It would lay him on the DL for at least about 3 months. What have you done, you tummy?
I'm following the lead of Kobe Bryant. I thought he's doing a great job sharing his injury with social media, so I thought I'd go and tear my Achilles so I could follow his lead. So yeah, basketballing, yeah, and that I was quite shocked. My brother sent me a text last night asking if I was going to be amnestied. So I've already been cut by my team. So 12 months of rehab. Not looking forward to it, but what can you do?
Oh, more time to spend in front of your computer on your tablet doing what you do best. We are talking Sean Callanan, Sports Geek HQ, about sport in the digital space and around events such as the Socceroos, rather compacted and important 3-week period of time. No doubt traffic when it comes to the green and gold and the round ball game goes through the roof.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Lots of national interest in the Socceroos at the minute. And the main thing is when the national attention comes, you actually get different types of fans coming on board. You know, fans that are just filled with national pride. They might not be really big football followers. So one of the things we've been doing with the Socceroos, and we've got a special guest here, and you're going to get me to say his name. So Rob Skillicciotti, did I get that right, Rob?
Skillicciotti, was very close, Sean.
So Rob is marketing manager at the FFA and looking after the Socceroos. So we've got these 3 games. And what we're really trying to do is, to reach mainstream Australia, because, we saw last Tuesday, especially from a social point of view, a lot of interaction, a lot of people were watching, we saw the highs and the lows of sport. So, what are some of the things you're trying to do to, get the message out about the Socceroos over these 3 weeks?
Well, I guess what we're trying to do is connect fans with the team and make them as close as possible to the team. We're trying to bring that to life in the digital space. So either through sharing loads of behind-the-scenes content or just getting the players to share their experiences with the fans out there.
How hard is it to get the players on board for that? I mean, they're so focused on this really important 3 weeks in their careers where they've got to try to qualify for Brazil. I guess the last thing they want to worry about is anybody else. But are they mindful of that responsibility to the wider public?
They're certainly mindful of what they have to do to get the nation behind them. I guess in the world we live in now, it's not as simple as being able to lock yourself away and train and be focused. Of course, that's important for the players, but they certainly understand the job they have to do.
And they are doing a lot of community stuff anyway. So, social and digital is just an extension of that. So they did a lot of, went out to schools and they're doing a lot of things over the 3 weeks because, you can't just be sitting in your hotel room the whole time. You will get bored. We did have some workshops yesterday with the guys just to explain them, one, how you can use social at a time like this, because this is when they're going to get the attention, but also to be very mindful of, and I used the Australian swimming team as an example yesterday. is to not let social media take over. You know, you don't want to be reading tweets as you're, walking into Etihad Stadium on Tuesday. You know, you want to manage it. You want to manage your own social. But the key thing is, and, have guys like Timmy Cahill, to really understand how important it is to, after the game say, thanks everybody. That's great. It's great for his brand, but it's also great for people who are trying to, feel like they're connected to the Socceroos. So.
And Rob, the job, as Sean pointed out, is interesting because you've got people such as myself and Sean who are, diehards who'll be there regardless. But there's also people who will take a casual interest in it in and around major tournaments who might not know a lot about the game, but do have, a keen interest to see the Socceroos do well. And to make sure they don't feel excluded by providing information that you assume that they know or talking about things that they might not know. You've got to sort of find that balancing act between being an open door, a broad church, but also being savvy.
Yeah. So the way we look at it is there's I guess we call it the fan scale. So you've got that casual fan that sits with a load of national pride that may not necessarily know too much about football, but is certainly interested in Australia making the World Cup. And then down the other end, you've got the active supporters who we now have a newly established Terrace Australis group, which will be driving the active support for the Socceroos moving forward. And I guess as a result of seeing that fan scale, we have different ways of connecting with different audiences. So with the general fan, we make sure we don't just talk in football speak, and we make sure we're keeping it human, if that makes sense. And
the thing is, the really avid football fan, they are terribly engaged with the TV. And the thing is, from a social point of view, you've got to remember that you're the sideshow. You're not, it's not look at me. But the casual fan, they are looking at Twitter and their social stream to get their commentary from people that they know and respect. So they might be looking for your commentary on what's happening because they know that you're a football fan. But they're also looking at the Socceroos, and they're also looking for people, to have fun with. So it's helping them enjoy that game. So yeah, you want to make sure that you're not tweeting about trying to explain the offside rule when people don't know it. Maybe we need to provide it as an animated GIF. That might reach the casual fan. But we want to give it that, like you said, a broad church and reach everybody.
Sean Callanan, our sports geek, is with us. Robert Scottociotti is also the marketing manager of Football Federation Australia, talking about digital sport, sport in the digital media, and how the Socceroos are managing it over this very busy period of time. Just with the Socceroos brand and the way that it's perceived, you must be getting an interesting new window on what people think of the Socceroos because of the interactivity of the digital space, and they can talk to you about what they expect of the team and what their perceptions of it are. Yeah. Has that been a bit of a revelation, Robert?
Certainly. With social, I guess, exploding and coming to life in the last couple of years, we've, rather than see it as a barrier, we've seen it as an opportunity to engage our fans and start to talk about and actually research and seed bits and pieces about the Socceroos brand. So, for example, I guess there's loads of discussion about where we play and the stadiums we play in. And over the past 12 months, we've just been seeding questions and asking our fans where they actually want to see the national team playing. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to change it straight away, but it certainly allows us to work on the brand and work on the overall experience, because the way we look at it is it's end-to-end experience, and it's not just the moment you leave your front door to the moment you come back in. It's actually the moment you start to connect with the brand, and then maybe drop it off, and then as it peaks around matches, how do we bring that back to life?
And I guess with the Asian Cup just now less than 18 months away, the long-term goal is to educate and get people excited about what's not only the Socceroos journey through that, but hosting the tournament as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I mean, the Asian Cup is, it's still an awareness thing. As we were talking about before in that fan scale, the avid fans will know that it's coming and know the significance and the size of this tournament. But yeah, it's the casual fans that they're going to find out about over the next 18 months, if I have my own way, that know what this tournament's about and know, that they'll be able to see some great football.
And we have a great local organising committee that's headed up by Michael Brown, the CEO of the Asian Cup, who their main job at the moment is to build awareness. So to build an understanding of what the tournament is and what it's all about. It is the most watched event in Asia when it comes to any sport. So it's certainly got great global scale. And we've just got to make sure we educate the Australian market and our fans on what it's all about.
Can I ask, from your point of view, is there a particular social platform that has been the most busy for Football Federation Australia, for the Socceroos? Are you getting a sense of what platform fans are gravitating to more than the others?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question where I think Twitter's the answer for us. We have a great positive in being that everyone loves to talk about football. So we're not trying to poke you and prod you and get your comments on the game. So Twitter allows us to be instantaneous, as you both know, and allows us to essentially just have that conversation. The way I talk about it is, like the conversation we're having right now, it's just facilitated through Twitter. So we're certainly seeing more success. I think we're getting better at Facebook with the help of
I think Twitter, it does lend itself to Twitter. I mean, Twitter lends itself to live sport, and is that conversational. Facebook is still a little bit one way. It's still a bit of broadcast and you engage, whereas Twitter, it's, I like the, everyone's all in. And you definitely see that, you definitely will see it this Tuesday and next Tuesday. If you don't know the Socceroos game is on and you're on Twitter, then you're, doing something wrong, because, 7 degrees of separation, you will have a Socceroos fan in your feed that starts talking about the game. And, that's it. We're talking to the guys at SBS about the tune-in factor and the broadcasters. It is really powerful. I'm sure a whole bunch of people changed channel, when Tommy Orr kicked that goal to find out what happened.
Is it a case also that once you have engaged people through social media, the challenge is to make them feel like they belong and therefore they're engaged for the long haul? Like it's
Yes.
one thing to invite them to the front door, it's another thing for them to come and sit inside the house.
Definitely. From our point of view, I guess a lot of brands try and commercialise social, and we a long time ago realised that that's not the way to do it.
That's a turn-off.
That's right. So we're more about telling the story. So once we have you engaged, we want to tell you the story. We want to educate you more and bring you closer to the brand. Not necessarily always the players, but bring you closer to what the Socceroos represent.
Well, it's going to be a great night Tuesday night, and then the following Tuesday as well. So you're going to be a very busy man, Robert.
That's right.
And hopefully a trip to Brazil on the back of that. And that's when I guess it goes to a whole new level of the Socceroos qualify for 2014 in Brazil in terms of the public engagement with the team and with the concept of football.
No doubt. Making the World Cup is certainly our objective. We've got 2 big games, as you say. One on Tuesday night against Jordan and then the following week against Iraq. We are very, very excited. The team are very, very excited as well, and very focused, I must say. When we get to the World Cup, we'll certainly do, and we're already working on planning how we can try and gravitate ourselves towards that interest and bring people together and directly connect with them through digital.
The devastating news for Holger Ossik, though, is that Sean Callanan is unavailable for the remainder of this series, so with this nasty injury. Sean, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Francis.
Surgery, though.
I will, yeah. I'll be tweeting photos as I do following Kobe Bryant's lead.
Good luck, mate. Thank you very much for coming in. Sean Callanan, our sports geek. Robert Squillacciotti from FFA, marketing manager. Rob, thanks for being in. Good luck over the next few weeks.
No problems.
You're listening to the Sports Geek Podcast. Tag your tweets, SGP.
Thanks to Rob for that chat, and congrats to the Socceroos for winning last week against Jordan 4-0. And they play Iraq this Tuesday night. As I said before, if they win, they're in. Some of the other things we've been doing with the Socceroos, some definite influencer outreach, making sure that celebrities and influencers, but the main influencers are the players, are using the main hashtags, which is Go Socceroos. It's good to have the guys at SBS and Fox Sports on board pushing that hashtag and getting the players involved. The other one was actually having a Socceroos chat, which we ran on Wednesday, where we had the Socceroos captain, Lucas O'Neill, actually answering the fans for a quick half-hour chat with the fans. It went very well and was well received from the fans. But when we're talking about Twitter, pretty much everyone was talking about the LA Kings last year during the Stanley Cups and the way that they took a brash, trash-talking attitude all the way to a Stanley Cup win. Francis and I caught up with Dwayne Hankins from the LA Kings. He was at the LA Kings when we spoke to him. He is now at the Portland Trailblazers. And so here's our discussion with Dwayne about what the LA Kings did and why they took that strategy during the playoffs. Hope you enjoy.
Good morning, Sean Callanan, sports geek, digital guru. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thanks, Frank. Good to be here.
It's good to have you. I wonder if the Leeds Rhinos, it's a bit of an old-fashioned style football club. I reckon they're on Twitter. We should check.
I actually haven't checked. I do know that the Storm, Dan from the Storm's over there, providing live tweets
I'm going to check right now.
From the game. We'll check the hashtag WCC. Actually, I do think the Leeds Rhinos are on Twitter.
It's so old school. I thought they'd still be sending telegrams.
Yes, no. I would put a bet on at Leeds Rhino. Leeds Rhinos as a guess.
Indeed. Well, most good sporting franchises around the world do use them, but some don't. That's funny. So Manchester United still doesn't have
Manchester United is still one of the ones that are standing alone in not having a Twitter account.
What's the logic behind that?
Well, officially they said they didn't see any commercial benefit for that, and it's actually a strange one. I sort of occasionally hear people say that about different platforms. Why should we, Manchester United saying why should we be on Twitter and
make any money out of it?
Well, exactly. Or why should we be doing Instagram? And sometimes they don't have a direct commercial benefit in that, we'll send out a tweet and, we will sell stuff. Now, that said... Is
it because Sir Alex Ferguson can't operate a mobile phone?
But he doesn't need to do it. There's no need for Sir Alex to be on. But there definitely is commercial benefit in just building that relationship with your fans, building their avidity. And then there actually is opportunities to put that call to action to sell tickets, sell merchandise, all of those kind of things. But the main thing is that you're building that relationship with your fans and you're communicating with them more. So that's the commercial benefit for all of these platforms, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest or whatever it is. It's like that's the opportunity. If you do it right, you can find those different markets and, build up that fan base. And if that fan base then becomes more enamored with you, that's what you want to do. You want to build your tribe.
And I can confirm the Leeds Rhinos have moved to the digital age and they're at Leeds Rhinos with 31,000 followers, and I've just joined to be the next one.
Oh, well, we'll see how we might have a bit of an assessment of how they're going against the Melbourne Storm online while the match is actually happening, and look at a bit of their game day coverage.
We will indeed. If you use it cleverly and you're funny and witty and you know how to connect with your tribe, as you call it, you can get massive mileage out of it. And we're going to speak to somebody whose job it is to do just that with a couple of American sporting franchises.
Well, exactly. Especially from when you're running a club account as opposed to, say, a league account, you're really talking directly to your fans. And that's how we sort of advise all of our clubs. I mean, you're not a Leeds Rhino fan, so you'll be starting following it, but they should be, their key market that they're talking to is their fan. They might have casual fans or someone that's just following along for keep up with the news, but you really want to be talking to your super avid fan that love everything you do. I love the term from Seth Godin, positive deviance. It just describes sports fans perfectly. Like they are just so wanting to express their passion, say how much they love the team, do whatever you want as far as, please retweet, use our hashtags, show how much you support us. So you want to be talking to those kind of fans. And if those fans love it, it's a big tick. If the opposition fans don't love what you're doing, that doesn't matter. Because you're serving your fans. They're the ones that you're monetizing, as everyone likes to say. They want to monetize social media. They're the ones that are going to, bring money into your club and give love to your sponsors and turn up to your events and games. So, they're your key customers. They're the ones you got to look after.
And that's exactly the job that our next guest has.
Yes, so we've got Dwayne Hankins from the LA Kings. He works at AEG Sports and is one of the guys behind the at LA Kings and the digital strategy behind what the LA Kings have been doing. G'day, Dwayne.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Really well, Dwayne. The Kings had an amazing year last year in the run to the Stanley Cup. And I guess when you come into focus, when you make the playoffs, did you notice at the time that the interest in the Kings and its Twitter account went through the roof around that time?
Yes. So, I believe our first sort of effort to kind of get the ordinary NHL fan to notice would have probably been after Game 1 when we tweeted to the fans of Vancouver. I think it was something along the lines of, to everybody outside of BC, you're welcome. And that was a bit of a dig at the Canucks, because for those of you not familiar, Vancouver has an incredible following in their home province of British Columbia, but outside of their province, most of the other Canadian teams don't really like them.
So did you cop
we played right into that political battle minefield, if you will.
Did you cop a lot of hate for that tweet?
Yes, I think, if there wasn't a line before, I think we definitely found the line then, in terms of agitating our opponents, for sure. There was more written about the tweet the next day than the actual game itself in the newspapers. So, that's something that, is funny and everything, and you can laugh about it. But really, the story should have been about the guys on the ice and the win that they had over the team, not about what we were saying in social media.
Dwayne, I mean, there is a lot of teams that see that kind of thing and see the potential risk. Okay, if you don't continue to win, your account's gonna cop it. But I mean, at the time, it was one of the most retweeted tweets of all time, and since was surpassed by TJ Ford and his comments on the NFL after a Monday Night Football game. But obviously, your fans completely rallied around it, and it rallied around the attitude that you guys showed throughout those playoffs.
Absolutely, and I think, for us, we took a bit of a tone going into the playoffs that said, we're the 8th seed, we've barely made it into these playoffs. Let's play the underdog card, and let's go out there and again, you have to give most of the credit to the team, obviously, because they went 16-4 and did not look like an 8 seed. We had a 3-0 lead in every one of our best of 7 series, so they really allowed us to do our job really, really effectively, because our fans were just really enjoying the ride. There was really no point at which our team looked like it was going to be in any kind of trouble until the Stanley Cup final, when we actually did get pushed to a Game 6 for the first time.
Dwayne, in a sports market as crowded as the one that you're in, even though LA doesn't have an NFL team, the interest in the American football is massive and college sports are big, and hockey has to fight its corner probably more than almost any of the professional sports. Do you have to look for a point of difference in your social media strategy to connect with fans, to galvanise those that are on board already and give them a sense of tribal identity, but also try to attract new fans?
You guys nailed it. That's absolutely what we do. So our fans, we're certainly not as large of a fan base as the Lakers, even the Clippers at this point, definitely not the Dodgers. In a very crowded marketplace, you also have USC football. But we have a very, very passionate fan base, a tribe. I like that term that you guys use to call that, because that's exactly what they are to us. And if we play to their strengths on social media, especially on Twitter, if we converse with them, if we get them to rally behind us, as a tribe, we can become a very, very loud minority, and we definitely saw that with the playoffs last season, for sure.
How, after the Stanley Cup win, there was obviously the issues with the lockout. How much was that very tough? We spoke to the NBA guys when they were going through the lockout. How tough was that as a team? Sort of, you had all this momentum that effectively stopped with the work stoppage. How did you guys handle that? And obviously now, how are you ramping things up with the season and progressing?
I think we had it easier than the other teams in the league, obviously coming off of the Stanley Cup title. I think the one thing that we did really well on the ground here in Los Angeles was we had, the lockout certainly went on longer than it should have, but that meant that we were able to have the Stanley Cup longer than we should have. So we had a lot of events locally to make sure that fans got their time in with the Cup. Although we obviously couldn't utilize the players, we did want our fans to know that there was a passionate relationship that we shared with them. That honeymoon did start to die down a bit, I'll be honest, around December and January when the season wasn't getting up and running. But once the season was announced, our president, CEO Tim Leiweke, he did say, you know what, we don't want to apologize for what we did. We want to go out and win another championship for you guys. And so what we did, I think, when the lockout ended, was we donated $1 million to local charities, said hopefully this is the end of it, and now let's go out and win another Stanley Cup. So.
Dwayne Hankins is with us. He's the Senior Director of Digital Strategy at AEG Sports, which includes the LA Kings, current Stanley Cup holders in America's National Hockey League. Dwayne, in terms of the fans that you attract, what's the demographic? Can you get a really good sense of who it is that becomes Kings fans? And are you surprised? I mean, does Twitter open up your eyes to the fact that you might have a different fan base than to the one that you thought you might have had?
No, I mean, it actually does register pretty well with our actual demographics that we see on the ticketing side. It's 70% male. That male is, 25 to 49. So that plays right into the wheelhouse of Twitter. We definitely have a loud and loyal minority fan base that's female as well. But, I mean, those are the people that come to games. Those are the people that engage with us in social media.
Great to talk to you. The season so far for you guys?
We got off to a bit of a slow start. Our team would not want it to be referred to as a Stanley Cup hangover because, as our coach says, he did not have one. He knows what they are, but he did not have one. And, I think that the team's kind of getting off and running. I do think it's interesting. I mean, the Kings were a team, as I said last year, that barely made it into the postseason. And this year, it's a shorter season, a slower start, but I think they've won the last couple of games. We have another game on Saturday here against Colorado, so we'll see what happens. I think either way for us, it's trying to keep it fun, trying to keep it entertaining, and as much as we take digs at other teams and other fans of other teams, we also know when we can take digs at ourselves.
That's the thing now, that you can't be playing the underdog tag when you've got the cup in the back at LA Kings headquarters.
That's correct. Yeah. So it would be like the Yankees, right? If they had that sort of that mentality. So we are certainly. That doesn't mean we still can't be humorous, interact with our fans, have fun with our fans, and so we've probably become a bit more modest with our rings on our fingers, but we certainly still have fun.
Good luck with the remainder of the year, and we'll follow closely on Twitter. Thanks for talking to us today, Dwayne.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure.
Dwayne Hankins there, who is, as I said, Digital Strategy Manager at AEG Sports, which includes the LA Kings, who are the current Stanley Cup holders. Good of you to come in again, Sean.
No problems.
How can we find you whilst we're flicking through our Leeds Rhinos tweets today?
At Sean Callanan or at SportsGeek or sportsgeekhq.com.
Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources.
Thanks to Dwayne for that chat. As I said before, Dwayne's no longer with AEG Sports. He's now at the Portland Trailblazers. And I really should mention the other guy behind the LA Kings, Pat Donahue Jr., who is now still running things behind the Kings and doing a fine job, although they did bow out before the Stanley Cup Finals. So a couple of other things. Big news this week from Facebook as it tries to follow the lead of Twitter, introducing hashtags on Facebook. For mine, I think this is one where we're going to freak out the general public that are on Facebook that don't know what a hashtag is. I definitely think that Facebook completely botched the launch, sending out the press release saying hashtags were on Facebook when they weren't active for about another 18 to 24 hours. I definitely think they should have just installed them, let people find them naturally as they have with other networks, and then done the press release to show off that they're working. The other thing is Facebook's privacy or little privacy options that they do have do make the hashtag a little bit harder to implement. Twitter, obviously, everyone is pretty much in a public sphere unless you've got a protected account. But in Facebook, everyone has different privacy settings, so that will definitely change what you can find when you're using a hashtag. But it will be interesting to see if you can get your team's fans to be using your team's hashtags in their Facebook feed. And if that's the case, I would say it makes sense to throw one of your hashtags on your Facebook posts every now and again. But for mine, I would not go hashtag crazy because if we know anything from Facebook fans, they do not like change. And putting more hashtags into your Facebook post might actually annoy more fans than bring them on board. So that's pretty much it for the Facebook on hashtags. Lastly, been playing with the Twitter ads with Melbourne Storm recently in trying to sell season tickets and game tickets with the Melbourne Storm. And just looking at their model, and their model is primarily cost per engagement, so it's not actually cost per click. You actually pay for replies, retweets, and the like, so you're not actually just paying for the click. And so there's definitely some options there. You want to make sure that you're creating tweets that don't force people to click on a hashtag or to do another action, because you might not actually get the action that you want. From what we've seen so far, using them with the Melbourne Storm, we've got some pretty good results as far as getting the impressions out there, and primarily most of the clicks have been on the link for the ticketing link. We've got to check ticketing data to see how they actually went from a sales point of view. The main thing is the targeting options that you have for Twitter ads, and I'm actually thinking about doing a bit of a longer pod, maybe getting some of the Twitter ads teams on to discuss some of the different products available. Primarily, you're pretty much targeting on followers of other accounts, so you're pretty much trying to target other accounts on who you want your message in front. One of the things I do like is the tweet that's not a tweet. So with the Twitter ad product, you can actually set up a tweet that won't actually appear in your timeline, and it won't actually appear as a tweet, but it will appear as a promoted tweet to the people you are targeting. So it allows you to mix up your message a little bit and not effectively spam your timeline, whereas most of the other tweets will be promoted tweets of tweets you've already done, and just give them a little bit more life in the same way that a promoted post works on Facebook. So as I said, we've been doing it for 2 weeks. Got a little bit more analysis to do to come back to you, but so far it's been interesting. Definitely interesting to look at the analytics. We did see that Twitter released analytics. If you do have analytics, you should be able to pin a tweet, and that tweet will appear promoted on your page, on your Twitter page. Never fear, that's just an added extra for anyone who's got analytics. You don't actually pay for that tweet. So if you think for some reason Twitter is going to start charging you for promoted tweets, that is not the case. It's just the fact that you've got analytics, and if you pin a tweet to the top, it will appear that it is promoted by you, but it really is just keeping that tweet to the top of your Twitter page. So that's it for this week. A couple of things just to wrap up. Now taking listener Q&A via SpeakPipe. So if you go to sportsgeekhq.com/SGP, there's a little icon on the side there. You can leave a voicemail. I'd love to get some questions into this podcast and take them on board, so please send them in. Alternatively, if you don't like the sound of your own voice, just send us a tweet, tag it @sportsgeek. And lastly, good luck to the Socceroos. That's it for today's show. As I said, hopefully next week I'll be back on track at the end of the week, and we're launching on Fridays in Australia, Thursdays in the States. Going to leave you with, at the end, some bonus material at the end, just to give you an idea of what it's like at the end of an AFL game when the crowd starts cheering and singing the club song. This is from a couple of weeks ago before I lost my phone and had to put it in for repairs, but this is after Collingwood won, and you can get a feel for the Australian culture of sports, and the fact that we all get up and sing the club song after the match. My name is Sean Callanan from Sports Geek. Thank you very much for all the reviews and comments from iTunes. Really appreciate them. If you could leave a comment or a rating, that would be great. Until next week, I will speak to you soon.
Please leave a review on iTunes. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/iTunes. Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources. Thanks for listening to the Sports Geek Podcast.